Waba. Welcome. Welcome to another round of the Conscious Roster Report here on LIB Radio, LIB TV on livinginblack.com. Weekday mornings, you and I get together live from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. BST, and 8 p.m. East Africa time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is July the 8th, 2025 in the Gregorian calendar, the Roman calendar. This corresponds to the year 6265 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the seventh millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. My name is Kidi Awadu, aka the Conscious Rasta, aka the brother from the future. I think you will be wonderfully excited to hear the theme for today's program. I'm very excited to be bringing it to you. So hopefully, excitement feeds excitement, feeds excitement, and then we all just grow up together. Today on LIB Radio, we share what I regard as shocking news that more blacks are going. I have a workaround, but it ain't good enough. It still is not right. I keep every day, I did it yesterday, I'll do it again tomorrow. I keep going through and trying to figure out why the thing won't talk to itself. But in the meantime, I'm here, live and direct and in your face. And here's the research that I have pulled together for this wonderful topic today. Now, vegans, black vegans and vegetarians are leaders, and we should be proud of that. I'll drink to that. Mm. I'll cough to that. So here's what we have for today's lesson. Let me one more link. I just want to put this up here, and let's get into today's topic. I did an AI inquiry because when I heard this information, I didn't. I was surprised. It's not that I didn't believe it. I was pleasantly surprised. I asked AI, what percentage of African Americans would be considered vegan, vegetarian, or flexitarian? AI came back with the following. This is Braves AI. As of recent studies, the dietary preferences among African Americans show a notable trend toward plant based diets. Vegan and vegetarian population. Approximately 8% of African Americans identify as vegan or vegetarian. This is significantly higher than the national average in the United States, which is around 3%. The flexitarian trend, while specific statistics on flexitarianism among African Americans are less frequently reported, there is back on the desk. And yeah, this is obviously something goofy going on. And I'm going to do the best I can to keep this thing running today. But StreamYard, y'all messing up my broadcast. And we're going to have to work it out. So I'm going to contact StreamYard today and say, hey, listen, it's you. It's not OBS. It is you. It's not my webcam. Everything worked last week. You guys, I saw StreamYard posted up a note that they were having problems, and then they took the note down, and the problems still persist. So you figure it out. So where are we at? Flexitarianism. We were talking about flexitarian trend. While specific statistics on flexitarianism among African Americans are less frequently reported, there is a growing trend of reducing meat consumption. Many individuals are adopting a more plant based diet without fully committing to veganism or vegetarianism, aligning with the flexitarian lifestyle. I have no problem with that. You are moving in the right direction. And the best part about it is the youngest part of our population, Gen Zs, they are leading this movement. So that is great news. Number two, demographic insights. The movement towards veganism is particularly strong among African American women who are leading the charge in adopting plant based diets. This demographic shift is influenced by health concerns, ethical considerations, and cultural factors. Overall, the African American community is experiencing a significant increase in the adoption of vegan and vegetarian diets, reflecting broader trends in health consciousness and sustainability. So, people, give ourselves, give our group a round of applause. And this is true for our brothers and sisters across the pond in UK, in Canada, across the Caribbean. And we hopefully can add fuel to that fire burning in our souls and our hearts. We're going to do a little bit of looking around. First of all, let me pull up this quick survey that appeared on YouTube. I'm going to pull this up real quickly, pull up YouTube, and this link I'm going to pull up here. I'm going to skip the commercial. And here is Charles Blow. He is from Prime News. Now I put the link up. Now I have to link to the link. Let me put him in his own window. Link to the link. on StreamYard, which is not messing everything up. I'm not mad at you. I'm glad at you. I'm glad you're on our team. And hopefully, I will help you, StreamYard, to get even better. So I have him up on the stage right now to speak to you. This is, I think it's the Griot Politics. This is featuring Charles Blow. Let's go ahead, let's play the short piece of video and see what our brother has to say about this trend called vegetarian and vegan in the Black community. Short piece of video.
Generation after generation of Black people have disproportionately suffered from health issues like high blood pressure and cholesterol, heart disease, diabetes, respiratory problems, etc., all of which have been linked to unhealthy diets in Black communities. But a recent survey suggests that a shift may be underway. According to the Pew Research Center, 8% of African Americans identify as vegan or vegetarian. This is more than double the 3% of the general population. Many Black vegans have credited health, environmental concerns, and animal rights as contributing factors in their decision to turn to plant-based diets, and science supports the notion that cleaner eating leads to better health. A 32-year study conducted by the American Heart Association found that people who mainly eat a plant-based diet were 52% less likely to develop and die from heart-related issues. So I'd like to send a special shout out to all the newfound Black vegans and Black-owned vegan restaurants attempting to be a positive example and save us from ourselves.
All right. That was rather brief, but telling. And I salute every one of us, especially Black women and Black Gen Xers, for your brilliance, for your leadership. Now we are going to break this down. That one came from here. Let me post up that link so you can have access to it. The survey was done by the Pew Charitable Research or Pew Research Foundation, and I'm going to share a link to them in just a little bit. But first of all, let me put up this link here so those of you studying along can have access to it. And push it up here in Rumble. And I'm going to push this link up on my Facebook page. Say it loud. I'm vegan and I'm proud. That's what I'm talking about. One more time, and then we're ready to go forward with BBC had a very interesting article detailing what you and I just heard here on LIB Radio. So next, I'm going to go to BBC and I'm going to copy that link. This article, Why Black Americans Are More Likely to Be Vegan. This is from BBC News, the 11th of September, 2020. So this news is not necessarily brand new news. In fact, it has been around for a little while. I'm going to copy this on my Facebook page. There you are there. Copy this up on the Rumble broadcast for today. It's our main site. It's a pleasure to put that there. And also, we are today broadcasting live on YouTube. So we're going to go forward and add that to YouTube as well. And I'm going to go over to this article on BBC. Why Black Americans are more likely to be vegan, from BBC News, September 11, 2020. Black Americans are almost 3 times as likely to be vegan and vegetarian than any other Americans. That's pretty amazing. Why is giving up meat so popular? When Lewis Hunter woke up on the morning of 31st of May, he didn't know what to do. His hometown of Minneapolis was in disarray after a week of protests following the death of George Floyd, and many businesses, including his own restaurant, Trio plant-based were shut down. God just told me. God touched me and told me to go out and pass out all the food that I had prepared the day before, he told the BBC. In total, Mr. Hunter gave away 300 vegan meals and bottles of water to Black Lives Matter protesters. The cause and his restaurant are inextricable in his heart. In 2016, he was facing 20 years in jail on felony rioting charges after participating in a Black Lives Matter protest following the death of his cousin, Philando Castile. And I do remember that case of the murder of Philando Castile, who was in his car and was murdered by Minneapolis police. Philando Castile death. I lost my best friend in a police shooting. Mr. Hunter has always maintained his innocence, and charges were eventually dismissed. But he lost his landscaping business and apartment while the sentence hung over his head for over a year. Through his legal battle, he met white activist Sarah Woodcock, who introduced him to the concept of veganism. He started reading about how reducing or eliminating animal products can help reduce the likelihood of developing chronic illnesses like diabetes and high blood pressure, illnesses that plague the Black community in the U.S. He says he also started to connect how racial injustice contributes to the poor diet that many African Americans eat. At first, I knew nothing about vegan, plant-based food or at all, he said. After that, I started seeing the other ways we are being treated wrongly as far as our eating habits. Although he does not identify as a vegan, which the Vegan Society defines as an ethical lifestyle choice that eschews all animal products, he says he now eats largely a plant-based diet that consists mainly of vegetables, fruits, and legumes. The pair went into business, and after a series of pop-ups, opened Trio in the autumn of 2018. Now he is the sole proprietor, making Trio the first Black-owned vegan restaurant in the state. The growth of Trio mirrors national trends, with everyone from athletes to pop stars jumping on board. But nowhere has the vegan diet taken off more than in the African American community. According to Pew Research Center survey, 8% of Black Americans are strict vegans or vegetarians, compared to just 3% of the general population. 3%. Those findings mirror a 2015 poll by the Vegetarian Resource Group that found 8% of Black people were strictly vegetarian compared to 3.4% overall. Recently, a January poll by Gallup found that 31% of non-white Americans had reduced their meat consumption in the past year, compared to only 19% of white Americans. The trend is sparking a new generation of vegan influencers, like actress Tabitha Brown, who is getting her own cooking show after her vegan videos blew up on TikTok and Instagram. There is even an online petition to make Ms. Brown the voice of Apple's Siri. Meanwhile, established celebrities like Beyonce, Lizzo, and tennis star Venus Williams have all either gone vegan or tried veganism, with Beyonce even partnering in a plant-based meal delivery service. The singer made headlines a few years ago when she promised to give free tickets to her and her husband Jay-Z's concerts for life to a fan who made the switch to veganism. So why has veganism become so popular with African Americans? To nurture my community? For many Black vegans, the journey begins with a quest for a healthier lifestyle. African Americans have a higher rate of hypertension, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and cancer than most other groups, in part because their diet is on average higher in salt and fat and lower in fruits and vegetables, research shows. But socioeconomic factors like poverty, living far from a greengrocer, and easy access to fast food have made it harder for African Americans to eat healthy, according to the Food Empowerment Project, a nonprofit aimed at ending food inequality. BBC article asks, is a vegan diet healthy? Numerous studies have shown that plant-based diets are associated with a lower risk of developing chronic conditions. The National Health Service, Britain's National Health Service, says that a balanced vegan or vegetarian diet can be, quote, very healthy, unquote, but notes that it is not the only path to health. It cautioned that vegans need to be careful to plan their diet to get adequate protein and calcium through plant-based sources, and may need to take supplements to guard against B12 and iron deficiencies. One recent study, published in the British Medical Journal, found that while vegetarians, including vegans, had a lower rate of heart disease, they had a higher incidence of stroke. Researchers were not sure why. He told the BBC that could be because of vitamin B12 deficiencies. Food aside, food quantity, I should say, food quantity, aside from food quality, is also a key factor in maintaining a healthy body weight. Those issues have inspired several Black-owned charities like Compton Vegan to deliver vegan meals to predominantly Black inner city communities. It is also one of the reasons why Mr. Hunter wanted the menu at Trio to focus on foods his community would be familiar with and would want to eat. Comfort foods like burgers and soul food like collard greens and mac and cheese. Continuing. Hundreds marched for better access to healthy food in 2017 in a neighborhood of Washington, D.C. But those foods don't have to be laden with bacon grease and full-fat cream, Mr. Hunter says. And I think that other line was a caption for a photograph. Mr. Hunter says the menu at his restaurant, Trio, veganizes many soul food classics, using things like liquid smoke to give collard greens that bacony taste, and cashews to make mac and cheese creamy without the cream, and hopefully without the cheese. At first, most of his customers were white, but now about half of his business is Black. To nurture my community is amazing. I pinch myself almost every day to see if it's real, he says. For Omowale Adewale, the founder of Black Veg Fest, a vegan festival created by and for the Black community in New York City, connecting veganism to Black culture is essential. But when the festival first debuted, it drew puzzled looks from many white vegans. The vegan community has been white for so long, and sometimes it feels like they want to keep it white, he says. While the diet has been stereotyped as something exclusively for soy latte swilling, upper middle class white hipsters, there is a long history of black veganism in the US and abroad. He is quick to point out. You love to see yourself represented. That's one of the main reasons why the black community has really galvanized around the vegan idea, he says. While many vegan organizations lobby to improve animal welfare, and Black Veg Fest is no exception, Mr. Adewale also makes sure its platform addresses wider issues in the Black community, like the fight to end police brutality. While I kept my plant-based diet secret from my family, after battling high blood pressure as a young man, Mr. Adewale was introduced to vegetarianism by his brother and then later adopted a vegan diet after being introduced to it by members of the Rastafari religion, which emerged in Jamaica in the 1930s. A central tenet of Rastafarianism is eating, quote, ital foods, unquote. Foods that are organic, locally grown, and plant-based. Rasta-owned vegan and vegetarian restaurants can be found in cities around the world with a large Caribbean diaspora. Traditional African cuisines, while not strictly vegan, are also largely plant-based and rich in dark leafy greens and legumes, staples in a healthy diet. A recent study involving 48,000 people over 18 years compared the health of meat eaters, pescatarians who eat fish and dairy, but not meat, and vegetarians, including vegans. The study found that people who eat vegan and vegetarian diets have a lower risk of heart disease, but a higher risk of stroke, possibly partly due to a lack of B12. The vegan movement has deep roots with the American civil rights movement. Dick Gregory, praise be his eternal name, a famed civil rights activist and comedian who marched alongside the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, gave up meat in 1965 and later became a strict vegan. Because I am a civil rights activist, I am also an animal rights activist. Animals and humans suffer and die alike. Violence causes the same pain, the same spilling of blood, the same stench of death, the same arrogant, cruel, and vicious taking of life. We shouldn't be a part of it, quote unquote, from Dick Gregory. Next, the article goes on to the category Eat Well to Fight Battles. It was Gregory who introduced Tracy McQuarter to veganism over 30 years ago when he gave a speech at Amherst College's Black Student Union. Now, Miss McQuarter is one of the many writers and influencers who are helping make veganism mainstream in the Black community. Her 2010 book by Annie Green's Necessary, enough respect to her, was specifically aimed at Black women. And this year, she is launching an online campaign to try to get 10,000 Black women to go vegan. 10,000 Black women to go vegan. That's a very noble campaign. I salute that, and I'm going to launch my own campaign. Miss McQuarter says that veganism is more important now than ever before, as the pandemic ravages many Black communities, in part because of their higher rate of pre-existing chronic conditions. And that is so true. I'm on YouTube today, so I'm not going to be talking about that. Chronic disease and systemic racism are inextricable, she says. Why has the hit African Americans so hard? While the root cause is systemic white supremacy, one of the symptoms is we have access to the unhealthiest foods, she says. As thousands march in Black Lives Matter protests, Ms. McQuarter says it is urgent for us to take care of ourselves and eat well so that we can have the energy to fight these battles. The new food fights. Okay, that finished that article. And well, that finished my excerpt from that article. I did post up the link. And I would love to hear from you today. If you are on uh, YouTube stream, it is on today. If you would like to comment, please do put in that comment. I'm looking at Rumble. I do see you in the house, Nguvu, my dear brother. And Nguvu is in the house. He says, I'm moving to a plant-based diet. Not there yet, but well past the 50% point. What is your opinion on cooked versus raw? I'm thinking more about mushrooms and legumes. Well, cooked versus raw. The raw is always, always going to be superior. Mushrooms raw are not bad, but legumes are the legumes that I eat raw are lentils. I will eat raw lentils, and I will eat cooked lentils too. And I will eat raw garbanzo beans and mung beans. Those are the only three legumes that I eat raw. I've tried eating other foods raw, and it did not work. Got hives real bad because you have to cook beans to cook the tannins off of the beans. So I tried black-eyed peas, red beans, black beans. That did not work out. So raw versus cooked, I am an advocate for the healthiest food is raw. And the healthiest food beyond mushrooms and legumes, well, mushrooms eating raw is not a problem unless the mushrooms have been contaminated by cow dung or animal dung during the processing of those mushrooms, but that's going to be pretty rare. But I like raw vegetables, period. I advocate for raw vegetables, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, black seeds, uh, different grains, oatmeals, all kind of grains. I make raw dishes. I have 3 recipe books. Living Superfood Recipes Volume 1 is the most popular, and I still do recommend that book as the most popular. I still do recommend that for people just entering into it. It's got the most powerful recipes in it that I have made. Even the Recipes Volume 2 is also raw and has 2 extremely powerful recipes in it, especially the Spinach Saved My Life soup. That is awesome. And I just recommend raw. If you want to cure a disease or disorder, if you're suffering from high blood pressure, cholesterol's out of balance, and you want to cure it or get on the course to curing diabetes within a month, that's the book you want. Living Superfood Recipes Volume 1. And it's not expensive either. It's not expensive. So I highly recommend try your brother's recipe book. There are lots of great recipe books out there. Congratulations, Nguvu, for moving toward plant-based diet. My Living Superfood Recipes Volume 1 use cashew nuts to replace milk, cream, cheese, oatmeal. You can make oatmeal milk, nut milk. My nut milk has been tested side by side comparison to all commercial brands. People always like my nut milk better. It has 21 different smoothies and juices. It's an awesome book. So I highly recommend that. And this weekend, if you or anyone else is in Las Vegas, if you're in Las Vegas this Saturday, come on by our house. We're in Golden Shores area. And come on by. We're going to have our feast here at the home. It's a beautiful house. It's going to be an awesome feast. And you're going to be surrounded by beautiful, beautiful people. I encourage everyone, if you're African American, if you're white, if you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, come on by. You are going to love it, love it, love it. In fact, I'm gonna make something ethnic for each one of those groups this week. I think I'm gonna make Spanish or Mexican tacos, or I could make there's just so much we can make. I love it, love it. I'll start talking about more about that feast tomorrow. So come on by Nguvu in Guvu. Of course, he's probably in another city. I don't have a clue what city you are in. Where are you located? Where are you located? And do you have any of my recipe books? I'd love it if you would order 'em. You can order them from my personal website, keidi.biz, or you can order them from Amazon or your favorite online bookseller. I want to be with you on your magnificent journey. And also, I'm going to do the best that I can to convince 10,000 people to go there, to go there. Give up the meat. Stop poisoning yourself. We do know that making the switch will lower your risk of cardiovascular disease, and it also will strengthen you from the pandemic and related uh, comorbidities. It's a whole nother topic. You need to read the book Panic to hear what I really have to say about all of that, but I can't talk about that while we are on YouTube because YouTube has the most intense censor bots of any website out here. Let's go forward. We are talking today about this beautiful trend of African Americans going more vegan and vegetarian than other groups. I'm going to put up this next article. The new food fights. U.S. public divides over food science, differing views on benefits and risks of organic foods, GMOs, as Americans report higher priority for healthy eating. This written by Carrie Funk and Brian Kennedy, Pew Research. And I'm going to just copy the link of the title. I'm going to post up the title, and not all of it would even go there, but it got almost the whole title in. I'm going to post up the title over here on YouTube, and then I'm going to post up the link to the article. One second. This is well worth waiting for. Here's the title, and here is the link. It's at pewresearch.org, science, and the new food fights. So I've got it. There it is. I'm posting the link. There it is. I'm going to post this a second time right here. Give me a second. These long links are kind of hard to put up. I have to post them up in two pieces. And then I'm going to come back, grab this again, and post it one time. Boom. And a second time. Shakalaka, boom, boom, boom. And here we go. Let's go into this next article that I pulled up. The title, once again, The New Food Fights. U.S. public divides over food science, differing views on benefits and risks of organic foods, GMOs, as Americans report higher priority for healthy eating. Written by Carrie Funk and Brian Kennedy, Pew Research, December 2016. Public opinion about genetically modified foods and trust in scientists connected with these foods. Genetically modified foods contain at least one ingredient coming from a plant with an altered genetic composition. Genetic modification, also known as genetic engineering, often introduces new desirable characteristics to plants, such as greater resistance to pests. Many U.S. crops are grown using genetically engineered seeds, including a large share of the soybean, corn, cotton, and canola crop that also includes wheat, oats, and there was one more, beets, sugar beets. As a result, the majority of processed foods in the U.S., the majority of processed foods in the U.S. contain at least one genetically modified ingredient. I'm going to repeat that list. And we're talking about a large share, over 95% in some of these cases, such as soybean, corn, cotton, canola, they mentioned, but they didn't mention sugar beets, rice. They didn't mention wheat, and oats have very high percentages of genetic engineering. And let me just put this in here because this becomes a reference point for me. I'm going to type in this one paragraph as well as sugar beets, wheat, oats, and rice. Not race, rice. As a result, the majority of processed foods in the U.S. contain at least one genetically modified ingredient. And what I'm going to do is in the background, I'm going to pull up a quick search. I'm going to do an AI search, and I want to list all of the crops commonly sold, commonly marketed in the United States. List all the commonly sold crops in the U.S. that are genetically modified. Let's see. There were 8 according to my list. Let's see what this brave search turns up. I'm going to read a couple more paragraphs. Despite the growing use of genetically modified crops over the past 20 years, most Americans say they know only a little about GM foods, and many appear to hold soft views about the health effects of genetically engineered foods, saying they are not sure whether such foods are better or worse for one's health. When asked which of these 3 positions best fits their viewpoints, about half of Americans, 48%, say the health effects of GM foods are no different than other foods. 39% say GM foods are worse for one's health, and 1 in 10 says such foods are better for one's health. About 1/6 of Americans, 16%, care a great deal about the issue of GM foods. These more deeply concerned Americans predominantly believe GM foods pose health risks. A majority of this group also believe GM foods are very likely to bring problems for the environment, along with health problems for population as a whole. Now, I'm going to go over here and we're going to switch over here, and we did locate more GM foods. Commonly sold GMO crops. Genetically modified crops, GMOs, are widely cultivated and sold in the United States, with several crops being commonly available in the market. According to the data, the most commonly sold genetically modified crops in the U.S. are, number 1, corn. 92% of all corn grown in the U.S. is genetically engineered, with only 1% being sweet corn, of which 10% is GMO. 2, soybean. 94% of all soybeans planted in the U.S. are genetically modified organisms. Canola. 90% of the U.S. canola crops are genetically engineered. Number 4, cotton. 96% of all cotton planted in the U.S. is genetically engineered. Number 5, sugar beet. 95% of sugar beets grown in the U.S. are glyphosate resistant. Number 6, papaya. About 90% of the papayas grown in Hawaii are genetically modified to be virus resistant. Number 7, alfalfa. Most conventional non-organic alfalfa is genetically engineered to be resistant to the herbicide Roundup. Potato, and we're talking about the russet potato. The innate potatoes developed by J.R. Simplot Company are commercially available in the U.S. And the last one on this crop, zucchini and yellow squash. These crops contain protein genes that protect them against viruses. So that's 9 foods there. These genetically modified crops are primarily used for industrial and agricultural purposes, with many of them being used in food products and animal feed. The majority of GMO crops are engineered to be resistant to herbicides or insects, although some have been modified for other traits such as virus resistance or improved nutritional content. So that opens up a whole nother can of worms. I almost said a nasty word there, but this is really quite distressing. And we have got to, at a certain point, understand that we're going to fight back. Now, I'm going to post this in this article that I'm reading from. And here is this link. Okay, so I'm going to go back and continue reading from this article. While a 2016 report from the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine suggests there is scientific consensus that GM foods are safe, a majority of Americans perceive disagreement in the scientific community over whether or not GM foods are safe to eat. And only a minority of Americans believe scientists as having a strong understanding of the health risks and benefits of GM foods. We don't believe them. Do you believe them? I do not believe them. Perhaps some of the skepticism comes from people's concerns about the motives of research scientists. Some 3 in 10 Americans say that research findings about GM foods are often influenced by the researchers' desires to help their industries. And people deeply concerned about this issue are particularly skeptical about the influence of industries behind research findings. A minority of 3 in 10 Americans say that research findings from scientists about GM foods are often influenced by the best available evidence. People who know more about science topics generally are more likely to trust information from scientists and see scientific research findings about GM foods in a more favorable light. Public awareness of genetically modified food runs the gamut. Foods with genetically modified ingredients have been available to Americans since about the mid-1990s, when U.S. farmers began using genetically engineered crop varieties designed to better tolerate herbicides and resist pests. Now, one might ask the question, I'm going to ask it right now. In the years since the mid-1990s, how have the health trends been going? Cardiovascular disease trends, cancer trends. Cancer is going crazy. How have the health trends been going? That might be the answer to the question, are they safe or are they harmful? Today, many processed foods in the US contain ingredients that are genetically modified. More than 90% of the soybeans, corn, cotton, and canola grown in the United States comes from genetically engineered seeds. Genetically engineered ingredients are widely used in processed foods from breakfast cereals to cooking oils to corn chips. Most Americans have heard something about GM foods. 29% have heard a lot. Roughly half, 52%, have heard a little. About 1 in 5, 19% of Americans have heard nothing at all about GM foods. People's perceptions of how much GM food they eat is often seen as a benchmark for the public's familiarity with GM foods. The argument goes that people who see themselves as not eating GM foods must be largely unaware that much of today's food supply contains at least some GM ingredients, particularly foods using genetically modified corn or corn oil. Overall, just 11% of Americans estimate that most of their food they eat has genetically modified ingredients. Only 11% estimate that most of the food they eat has GM ingredients. Another 4 in 10, 40% say some of their food they eat has GM ingredients. About half of the public, 48%, says they do not eat GM foods or do so not too much. Now, they did mention corn. I'm going to take a pause right here, and I'm going to put this one in right in the middle of that, and I'm going to go once again. What is epicite? EPI. What is epicite? EPICYTE. I'm asking that question. Also, who is the manufacturer? And what is epicite effect on the human system? You may be shocked. I punched this up in AI, and it's going to give me a few words of what the research says. Epicite, definition, and manufacture. Epicite refers to two distinct concepts based on the context provided. The definition in biology, epicite is an epithelial cell or cell membrane component as described in standard biological terminology. The second definition, a biotechnology company. Epicite is also a San Diego-based biotechnology company that focuses on developing human antibodies, including experimental antibodies produced in plants. The company has collaborated with Dow Chemical to help to develop a topical contraceptive and a microbicide that may be effective against HIV. As for epicite's effect on the human system, the company research includes developing products like microbicides and antibodies. They didn't say, it's not saying antibodies against pregnancy. It's not saying that. Which are intended for therapeutic and protective purposes, such as preventing HIV infection or serving as contraceptives. However, the specific physiological function would depend on the product in question and its intended use. Well, let me be a little more clear. Is epicite, and there are other, let me find this. Is epicite, follow-up question. Is epicite known as, quote, the sterilization gene? That's simple, straightforward. It is responding. The epicite sterilization gene originated from research conducted by San Diego-based biotechnology company Epicite in the early 2000s. The company discovered a rare class of human antibodies that attack sperm and isolated the genes responsible for producing these antibodies. By inserting these genes into corn plants, Epicite created genetically modified corn capable of producing anti-sperm antibodies, effectively acting as a contraceptive. This development was announced publicly in 2001, with Epicite's president Mitch Hein stating that the corn could potentially prevent both pregnancy and the spread of sexually transmitted diseases. That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm about ready to start cussing again. I don't cuss. The concept of using plants as horticultural factories for pharmaceuticals was part of a broader field known as biofarming, where crops are genetically engineered to produce therapeutic proteins. Epicite's work was patented, and the company partnered with major corporations such as Dow Chemicals, Johnson & Johnson Biotechnology Unit, Centocor, to explore further applications of this technology. Despite these early developments, the use of Epicite gene in commercial GM crops remains controversial. Some sources claim that companies like Monsanto and DuPont acquired the rights to the Epicite gene for commercial exploitation, raising concerns about its potential inclusion in the food supply without public awareness or consent. However, experts, including the president of the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria, have refuted these claims, stating that no GMO seeds currently contain the Epicite or sterilization gene, and that such assertions are sensationalist and lack credible evidence. The president of the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria. That's kind of shocking, isn't it? It is. To me, it's very shocking. In summary, when the Epicite sterilization gene was developed by Epicite Pharmaceuticals as a method of producing contraceptive agents through genetically modified corn, its widespread use in commercial agriculture remains unverified and disputed by scientific experts. Whew. Scientific experts from Nigeria, the president of the Biotechnology Society of Nigeria. How much was he bribed? Who's to say? I'm going to put this one into the report. There are a lot of different references for that particular Epicite recording reference. I'm going to just pop up one. GM corn, this is the one from Guardian from a few years ago. GM corn said to stop man from spreading his seed. Let me share this article. GM corn set to stop man from spreading his seed. 1 second. Special report, GM crops update. I'm going to copy this, cut it and paste it, and X, and paste this up for our Rumble family. Shabaka, I see you in the house, my dear brother. Welcome, Aquaba. Why does this thing keep jumping pages? It's not supposed to. And I do have a pretty good audience for today. I'm going to paste this link up and skip that ad and ask this over here. Paste it on the Facebook page. And I'm going to paste it on the, and I do see Lay Ye in the house, writes eat meat. Lay Ye, put that in context, explain yourself, because it looks like you may be just trolling, and I hope you're not. I hope you are going to ask me something serious. But if you're just saying eat meat, I'm going to presume that Lay Yay, you're an idiot. I'm going to presume you're an idiot. You may not be an idiot. You may not be trolling, but you're going to put in more than 7 letters to get any serious attention around here. I am going to, did I paste that up here on this website? Yes. This article, I'm going to go into this article. And this one, once again, this article is titled, where we at? Where we at? Where we at? We're in here. GM corn set to stop man spreading his seed. This article is more than 23 years old. Scientists have created the ultimate GM crop, contraceptive corn. Waving fields of maize may one day save the world from overpopulation. This article written by Robin McKee, MCKIE, September 9, 2001. The pregnancy prevention plants are the hallmark of the San Diego biotechnology company Episite, where researchers have discovered a rare class of human antibodies that attack sperm. By isolating the genes that regulate the manufacture of these antibodies, and by putting them in corn plants, the company has created tiny horticultural factories that make contraceptives. We have a hothouse filled with corn plants that make anti-sperm antibodies, said Episite president Mitch Hine. We have created corn plants that make antibodies against the herpes virus, so we should be able to make a plant-based jelly that not only prevents pregnancy, but also blocks the spread of sexual disease. Contraceptive corn is based on research that the rare condition immune infertility, in which a woman makes antibodies that attack sperm. Essentially, the antibodies are attracted to surface receptors on the sperm, said Hine. They latch on and make each sperm so heavy it cannot move forward. It just shakes as if it were doing the lambada. Normally, biologists use bacteria to grow human proteins. However, Episite decided to use corn because plants have cellular structures that are much more like those of humans, making them easier to manipulate. This company, which says it will not grow the maize near other crops, says it plans to launch clinical trials of the corn in a few months. Now, this, you've read 17 articles. Oh, this is something different. Okay. All right. So let me just go ahead and I posted up the link so you have access to that particular article. You can choose to believe it or choose not to believe it. That is up to you. And there are other articles based upon the web search that I did, and the other articles, the silent GMO sterilization of the human race. That sounds interesting, real quickly, because this is more updated than the previous article. So I'm going to open that one up. The silent GMO sterilization of the human race has gone far beyond what I had ever imagined. This article written by, can't tell who's the writer, it's from doowans.com, DOOWANS.com. I'm going to copy this track. I'm going to copy this title, bear with me, paste it in my browser, and copy that from the browser, and paste this up here on Rumble, paste it on Facebook, and paste it on YouNow. And let's go into this article. It looks interesting. I hope you find this to be interesting. I thought I had done all the research I needed for today yesterday, but Yeah, now we're talking about why black people in particular are 3 times more likely than Americans, standard Americans, to go vegetarian and vegan. Now, vegetarian does not exclude the genetically modified organisms. Vegan excludes GMO, GM foods. So on the label, when you go shopping, if you see a box or bag of highly processed food, read very closely, look very closely for that label that says non GMO. That means you can eat it, non GMO. It may be compromised in other ways, but we do know it excludes the corn that's been heavily modified and is used as a vector for anti fertility campaigns. Here's the article. The title: The Silent GMO Sterilization of the Human Race Has Gone Far Beyond What I'd Ever Imagined. It's the silent GMO sterilization of the human race. Now, one of the genes used in GMOZ corn foods cause permanent sterilization of both men and women of this human race. It is the silent GMO sterilization of the human race. It's called the epicite gene. Not only are we being poisoned by GMOs, but now silently being sterilized by the governments we believe are protecting our rights and well-being. Yeah, right, you say. That's a good one. You've got to be kidding me. What kind of government would silently sterilize its citizens without the citizens knowing? Welcome to the silent GMO sterilization of the human race. I don't know where you stand, but from where I sit, it's just outside our door. If they can do this right behind your backs, it's about time we wake up and come to the realization there's a lot more they're doing without our knowing. Here's proof. Or we can just stay asleep and believe they care about us and are telling the truth. And that here's proof is another link to another tab, and I'll mention that in a second. The silent GMO sterilization of the human race. Or have you had your corn flakes for breakfast yet? Kellogg's, we bring the best to you each and every morning. Frosted Flakes takes on a whole new meaning. How about for you? It will. A long-standing project of the U.S. government and Monsanto has been to perfect a genetically modified variety of corn, the diet staple in Mexico and many other Latin American countries. We can bet it's in the USA too. Every processed food we eat contains corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, and telling us it's no different than sugar. Want to bet? The field testing of corn has been financed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture using our tax dollars, along with a small California biotech company called Epicite. Just so happens, now BioLex owns this company. Who do you think owns them? Any guesses? Hint, it starts with an M. The Epicite company scientists went one step further and created the ultimate GM crop, contraceptive corn, after researchers discovered a rare class of human antibodies that attack sperm. By isolating the genes that regulate the manufacture of these antibodies, and by splicing them in corn plants, the company has created tiny horticultural factories that make contraceptives. Mitch Hein, pointing to his GMO's corn plants, announced, quote, "We have a hothouse filled with corn plants that make anti-sperm antibodies," unquote. Announcing his success in a 2001 press conference, the president of Epicite states, quote, "If the men eat the Epicite gene, they produce antibodies to their own sperm, rendering them irreversibly sterile. Essentially, the antibodies are attracted to surface receptors on the sperm. They latch on and make each sperm so heavy it cannot move forward. It just shakes about as if it was doing the lambada. Hine claimed it was a possible solution to world, quote, overpopulation, unquote. You first, Mr. Hine, and thanks for that great work. We have a bowl for your cornflakes right here for you. In women, the women produce an antibody which attacks the man's sperm. They do the nasty, and it kills it, preventing fertilization of her egg. Thank God for the new and very costly in vitro fertilization procedures, because we are going to need them. Even then, they may not work. The moral and ethical issues of feeding it to humans in poor third world countries without their knowledge or consent, he left out of his remarks. Imagine that. What a nice guy. Shortly after the 2001 Epicite press release, all discussion of the discovery vanished. The company itself was taken over in 2004 by Biolex, and nothing more was heard in any media about the development of spermicide corn. Imagine that. It just vanished or just covered up. And it goes on. It says, how about some GMO's milk containing pus from, there's a picture of a caption of a cow, from my infected udder, because they have injected me with the bovine growth hormone for these frosted flakes. Trust me, it's safe because Monsanto and the FDA said so. And the article goes on and on. It is a bit of an amateurish written article. There's misspellings and other things in it, but I'm not going to dismiss it. I think we should be paying attention. It did reference this other article. This is also from the same website, dewans.com. Take GMOs, add that to our RNA. Our RNA effects equals our DNA, hence the formula genetically modified organisms plus RNA equals DNA. And it has no reference to the issue of fertility, but it is a pretty interesting reference. So I'm going to just copy this first reference, the silent sterilization of the human race. I did copy that already and share that with you. I'm going to begin to, well, let me go back to my original article because I did cut and paste some research from yesterday and I didn't finish. So overall, just 11% of Americans estimate that most of the food they eat has genetically modified ingredients. Another 4 in 10 say some of the food they eat has genetically modified ingredients. About half the public, 48%, says they do not eat GM foods or do so not too much. Familiarity with GM foods is linked with people's perceptions of their own consumptions. Some 23% of those who say they heard or read a lot about GM foods said that most of what they eat contains genetically modified ingredients. Another 42% of this group says they eat some GM foods. Just 1% of those who have heard about nothing about GM foods estimate that most of the food they eat contains genetically modified ingredients. Now there's one more article. Genetically sold GMO crops. Genetically modified organisms are widely cultivated and sold in the United States, with several crops being commonly available in the market. According to the data, the most commonly sold genetically modified crops in the U.S. include, number 1, corn. 92% of all corn grown in the U.S. is GMO. I think we did this one already because I did this and then we inserted it. How many adult vegetarians are there in the U.S.? This is very important. How often do Americans eat vegetarian meals, and how many adults in the U.S. are vegetarians? The Vegetarian Resource Group asked in a 2015 National Harris poll. Food companies, marketers, researchers, students, and media for years have been asking the Vegetarian Resource Center about the number of vegetarians. To again help answer this question, VGR commissioned Harris Interactive to produce a nationally representative online poll of 2017 adults aged 18 and over. We asked, which of the following, if any, best describes your eating behavior? Just select one choice. Number one, I never eat meat, fish, seafood, or poultry. That's me, vegan. Two, no, that's more than me. I never eat meat, fish, seafood, poultry, dairy, or eggs. That's me. Number three, I don't eat meat, fish, seafood, poultry, or at one meal per week. Fourth question, I don't eat meat, fish, seafood, or poultry one full day per week. Number five, I don't eat meat, fish, seafood, or poultry at many of my meals, but less than half the time. The next question, I don't eat meat, fish, seafood, or poultry at more than half of my meals, but not all the time, or none of these. So we consider those that never ate meat, fish, seafood, or poultry, plus those that never ate meat, fish, seafood, poultry, dairy, or eggs as vegetarian. We classify that second category of vegetarians who don't eat dairy or eggs also as vegan. Because we never use the word never and don't just ask if a person considers himself vegetarian or vegan, our numbers may be lower than others. We did not ask about honey. 36% of the country eats at least one vegetarian meal per week. This has strong implications for food companies and restaurants. There is incentive for producing vegetarian products, as there is demand from over 1/3 of the population on at least a weekly basis, plus others who may eat vegetarian meals, but not as consistently. However, based on our other research outside this poll, it is not enough just to produce meatless items, but businesses have to cater to various needs, which may include price, health, convenience, source of ingredients, taste, religious requirements, etc. Methodology. The survey was conducted online within the United States between April 29 to May 1st, 2015, among 2,000 plus adults age 18 and older by Harris Poll on behalf of Vegetarian Resource Group via Harris Quick Survey Omnibus product. Figures for age, race, sex, race identity, and ethnicity, education, region, and household income were weighted where necessary to bring them into line with their actual proportions in the population. Propensity score weighting was used to adjust for respondents' propensity to be online. And it's going on to describe the sample surveys. That's not necessarily interesting. And it talks about the Harris poll, the origin of the poll. And with US adults numbering over 240 million, we estimate the number of vegetarians in the US adult population based on this poll to be approximately 8 million adults. Vegans included in the vegetarian figures would be about 1 million people. Two of the highest subcategories for vegetarians were 18 to 34-year-olds at 6%, and those whose households earning under $50,000 at 7%. How often do American adults eat vegetarian meals? He says as he goes to have a sip of water. That was more than a sip. That was a slug. How often do American adults eat vegetarian meals? don't eat meat, fish, seafood, or poultry. 8% less than one meal per week. 5% one day per week. 10% many of my meals, but less than half the time. 10% more than half my meals, but not all the time. 3.4% always vegetarian, including vegans, never eat meat, fish, or poultry. Close to 15% of vegetarians were vegan, never eat meat, fish, poultry, dairy, or eggs. 36% estimated population who eats vegetarian meals. According to our other research, the needs of the individuals interested in vegetarian meals can be different. For example, the food companies and restaurants should note that consumers may be looking for vegan, low sodium, gluten-free, locally grown, organic, gourmet, kosher, or other selections. If developing a vegetarian product or offering vegetarian meals, they will need to do more research on their customers' food preferences. In addition, when considering products and marketing strategies, businesses should consider the special needs of vegetarians versus those interested in vegetarian meals. Now, talked about people who never eat meat, fish, or poultry. The total number of vegetarians, including vegans, now vegans do not eat dairy and eggs as well. Total 3.4%. This is the black community, I'm pretty sure. And that breaks down to 3% male, 3.7% female, 6% age 18 to 34, and that's very encouraging. 3% age 35 to 44, 3% age 45 to 54, 2% 55 to 64, 2% 65 plus. 5% of this group lived in the Northeast, or in the Northeast, I guess it would be 5%. In the Midwest, 3%. The South, 3%. In the West, 3%. Hispanic, 3%. Black, 8%. Below $50,000 household income, 7%. $50,000 to $75,000 family income, 2%. $75,000 to $100,000 family income, 1%. And over $100,000 family income, 2%. People who eat at least one or more vegetarian meals per week, including vegetarians and vegans, total 36%, 33% male, 39% female, 47% between 18 and 34. Again, that's the biggest demographic. 37%, 35 to 44, 27%, 45 to 54. 26%, 55 to 64. 36%, 65 plus. 39% in the Northeast, 34% Midwest, 33% in the South, 40% in the West. A student 18 or over, 53%. These people who eat at least one or more vegetarian meals per week. So that gives us good reason to be optimistic. The thing is the trend is actually growing. The reason for our cautious optimism is that this is the overwhelming majority of people are not vegetarian and or vegan. But with the young people leading the group, leading the trend, hopefully the future will have more of us in this camp. the camp that I am in, vegan, over 65, would put our household in the 2% category. This weekend, the 2%, we will be joined by those of you who are of other categories, vegan, vegetarian, sometimes at least one meal or more per week. They will be joining us for this big feast that we have. Normally, it's the first Saturday of each month, but since last Saturday was the day after the farce called July, I decided to skip it. But I will inform those who do come this week that the 4th of July meal is the most cancer causing meal of the year. The most cancer causing meal of the year. And I didn't want to compete against the day after people ate that. Hopefully, we will be able to show the people an alternative pathway. Let me ask you, are you optimistic about these numbers? I'm going to go and see who's talking to me today. I'm looking at the Rumble page. Anybody talking to me? No. Shabaka is in the house. Shabaka says health in America has declined horribly and is getting worse, if one can believe that. You're right. I cannot disagree with you. You are absolutely right. And Guvu is in the house. He wrote earlier, I'm moving to a plant-based diet. Not there yet, but well past the 50% point. Good, good, good. That's great. What is your opinion on cooked versus raw? Raw, superior, cooked when necessary. Cooked is more convenient for me. But if I eat too much cooked food, I will gain weight and I will also get a little sluggish. So I try and eat as much raw food as possible. I am right now on the 15th day. I think today was day 15 of my autumn, no, my not autumn equinox, summer solstice detox fast. Day 15. So I weighed myself this morning. I did gain a little bit of weight back, but I had taken my weight down under what I weighed when I was 25 years old. So I had the bounce back space. So right now, today, I weighed 143.1. My perfect weight is 145. So I'm going to stay down here as long as I can. And then I'm going to bring my weight up to my normal weight nowadays is right around 150 pounds. That's not unreasonable. If you look at the BMI, body mass index, for my height, my BMI generally stays around 21.7 to 22.7, right around that range. And that is right in the middle of the green. Let me see. Let me do my body mass index for today, because that's a good measurement. All of us, everybody out there, BMI calculator. I'll share that link with you. Put this link up for my Rumble fans. Here we go. Where you is, Rumble fans, calculate your BMI real quick. Brother Shabaka, Brother Nguvu, please do. And I'm going to put it up here on my Facebook page. Please do calculate your BMI as fast as you can. And we're going to just all come to the conclusion. And I'm going to put it up here on StreamYard. Calculate your BMI. There it is, BMI calculator. I have it over here. It is open in this site. And where did I open it? Here it is, BMI calculator. I am age 69. I am male, 5'8.5" 8.5. I used to be 8.9 inches, but I shrank. People do shrink when they get older. 143.1 pounds today. My BMI comes to 21.4. That's ever so slightly under the middle of the green section, which is normal. Ever so slightly. You can almost not even tell, but yeah, 21.7 is the perfect BMI for me, and that would be 145 is 21.7. Now, I will probably, by the next time a fast comes around, it will probably go back up to 150, which is 22.5. So I live within the green zone of body mass index. I not only live within the green zone, I very rarely, if never, go up to the top of the green zone. Now, real quickly, before I go out, let me tell you what this does for me. I'm going to pull up my longevity calculator. By living, optimizing weight and BMI, this number 25 adds 5 added years to life expectancy. 5 added years. Now, today, since we were talking about vegetarianism and veganism as a lifestyle option, let me find that on here. And let me tell you what added years that gives you. Vegetarian, 8 years additional on average life expectancy. This is why we encourage people to go vegetarian and vegan. That's for vegetarian. For vegan, 9 added years on average of life expectancy. So if we add vegetarian and vegan, that's, well, if we take the larger one and add to that the body mass index, where is it at? BMI, 5 years. Boom. 8 plus 5, 13 years. 9 plus 5, 14 years. Would you give yourself that advantage? It takes discipline. Could you, would you, should you give yourself the gift of that advantage? I wish I could do it for somebody else, but it only works for me. Shabaka is in the house. He says his body mass index 22.1. He's 6'2", 172 pounds. Brother Shabaka, congratulations. That's a really great body mass index. You should be incredibly proud of yourself. Congratulations, my brother. Congratulations. Stick with it and improve your life expectancy. Extend, I should say, your healthy lifespan. So, on that note, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LMB Radio, LMB TV, and LivingBlack.com. I encourage all of you, if you're in Las Vegas this weekend, come on through. And also, you should be participating in what it is we do. I do one-on-one counseling. And you heard me say it many times. Whatever you're dealing with, talk to me. I'm pretty sure we can get you over it using food as nature's most perfect medicine in from 5 days to 30 days. If it's more difficult, like kidney disease, progressive kidney disease, or multiple sclerosis or some other autoimmune disease, it could take 60 days or more. But in most, often, the common chronic diseases people are suffering from, it's amazing. You reverse it in 60 days or less. I got somebody coming to Las Vegas in less than a month who's been suffering from sickle cell disease his whole life. He's doing much better than most people, but he hasn't cured it. I'm telling him, come on through and let's get rid of it permanently. Sickle cell disease. And he's going to do it. At our home here, we have a healthy retreat where you can come by. If you have a serious disease, some people out here with real serious diseases. I heard from someone just recently who's dealing with 4 or 5 or more chronic diseases: kidney failure, cancer, metabolic syndrome diseases, autoimmune diseases, simultaneously dealing with all this stuff. And this blood has become a trash can for pharmaceuticals. Can we do better than that? Yeah. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. Let me hear you say it. Food is nature's most perfect medicine. Shabaka says, I'm learning from the best. Thank you, Baba. And thank you, Brother Shabaka. Thank you. Thank you. Because I am a reflection of us. You are a reflection of us, Ubuntu. I am because you are. Because you believe in your brother and I believe in you. And when we believe in each other, we cooperate, collaborate with each other, and then we can grow together, build together, and our ancestors are greatly pleased in our mutuality. Thank you all for tuning in today to your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are living in black.com. I wish you all peace. I wish you all prosperity. And I wish some of you today will be motivated by what you heard to go to the front page of libradio.com. Go to the front page and scroll down till you see a link that says support the network. Make a donation. You can always use our Cash App, which is KEIDI, the $ Keidi. That's our Cash App. You see that in the scrolling. We do need your help. I need you to go to Keidi.biz and buy the books. I'll type that link up and let everybody get there. Thank you all for what you do for each and every one of us. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.